Welcome, welcome. Glad you're all here and here. Thank you for your presence and your attention. Let's start with some quiet sitting or however you're arranging your body. Bring some care and attention to the way you feel arranged. Hello, come in. Way you feel arranged in your body, and whatever is touching the floor, let that touch down and submit to gravity, surrender, and allow gravity to really hold you, to really support and cradle you. Let the base of your body be heavy, rooted. And let the upper body be light and free. However you are arranged relative to the earth's surface, let your spine feel an elongation, a lot of space between crown and tail. This vital thoroughfare between the brain and the ground that feeds every bit of circuitry in you. Give all of that space. Let the face, head, the eyes, the jaw all be relaxed. Perhaps allow the tongue to find the palate, the front of the palate, just behind the teeth. And bring awareness to your breath. Let it be fluid, flowing freely. regard the habits of the mind that take us away from the moment, and then return. Begin again. If it's necessary, begin again all the way from the beginning. Let the base of the body feel heavy. Let the top of the body feel light. Let the spine elongate. Let the head and the face relax. And find the breath. There's no limit to the number of times we can return to that experience of intentionally coming to presence. And every time we do it, it lays down a neural pathway that this is possible, that this peace, P-E-A-C-E, is available. And then we're just breathing, we're just here. Return to the breath. Note your stable presence on the earth. Soften into the willing form of your body. Let yourself be held. And then for the next few breaths, bring a little bit of emphasis to the inhale, the exhale, this very moment. And then bring yourself back to a state of alertness in your immediate surroundings. Shift your position if you choose to. Roll the shoulders, tilt the head, stretch the arms. So all living organisms thrive on the basis of homeostasis. An ecosystem is constantly seeking to right itself when it goes off balance. Resources are conserved and redistributed. Nature is like the original Robin Hood, seeking fair and even balance. The body consumes in and the body produces back out. We inhale, we exhale. But as the only living organisms with consciousness, with meta-awareness, we can think about our thinking, we can think to begin with, we don't have a built-in mechanism to restore homeostasis to our active mind states. It's up to us. We're on our own in that department. We have to right ourselves in the way we engage with our thoughts. While our physiology is working overtime to keep all of our biological systems in balance, our mental exercises are relentlessly untamed. We can all be a witness to that truth. Mind formations, ideas, stories, fears run free and unchecked down these dark roads of fear and anger and grief and pain and anxiety and mistaken beliefs. These unchecked thoughts are gallivanting around like wild horses, and they're driven by impulse. But what would happen if we had some touchstone for mental balance, some mechanism to restore homeostasis in all of this mind stuff, this mind chatter, some way of remembering to come back to a centered place, to take these resources of wisdom and guidance and self-compassion and use them to meet those wild horses with a gentle presence, to take the reins and just bring them back on the correct path. So we can work right now with a simple contemplative practice where you can feel your body being in a balanced way that's calm and alert, that's supported and asserted in this moment. Feel where you meet the ground again. Take a big breath in and let the breath go. So this touchstone that I'm going to offer as an invitation right now may or may not resonate with you, and if it doesn't, you can find a different one. And the one that I'll offer is the navel center, that place just behind the belly button, just in front of the spine, just above the pelvis, and just below the waist. So deep in there. And as you have your awareness resting here, I'll call it the navel center. Take a few breaths and imagine that you can direct the breath there to that place. And you can picture, if it's useful, a little barometer there that's measuring and seeking its own level, the way water does, to monitor the relative homeostasis of the mind. This isn't so far-fetched. There's a lot of evidence that the gut brain is actually more effective than the brain in keeping us in balance emotionally, mentally. So that I think there's more serotonin produced in the gut than there is in the brain. Check me on that. We can all Google it later, but I think that's the case. So navel center, bringing awareness here, breathing into this place. As many times as you can remember, and as many times as it's necessary. Note a thought that gallops away from this center. Meet it with patience, compassion, kindness, and lead it back. Let your breath infuse this simple center with energy of consciousness, of intention, and of light. Fill in, illuminate this place deep in the navel center. There may come some intrusive thought from on high that tells you you're forgetting to do something or you got to solve this problem right now, right now. And I promise that thought, that potential for problem solving, if it's important enough, it's not going to go away. It will be there when you finish your practice, and you will be better at it, having set it aside for this intentional time. Those intrusive thoughts want nothing to do with some imaginary light shining in your belly. They'll tell you that's silly, and that's not going to get you anywhere. And I'll fight them on that. We'll come back to the breath, come back to the center. Let that be the touchstone for equilibrium. You may notice sensations in the body that awaken when awareness comes into this deep place. Trust those. And if they feel inviting and pleasurable, enjoy that without being attached to it. It's not a requirement to feel anything, but it's a useful tool to notice the feeling and maybe perhaps start to make some association with, yes, there is a physiological response, and that's the body saying, hey, thanks for helping us maintain this balance in here. And then take a few more breaths here, a few more moments to acknowledge some potential for light shining inside a touchstone in the navel center for calm, equilibrium, balanced ease. And return to immediate surroundings. Once again, give yourself a little bit of movement if that feels right for you. Stretch, shift, shimmy. So you may think of the idea of tranquility. I think of elements in nature that evoke tranquil sensation. My mind goes to the forest, or it goes to the water, either the banks of a river or a simple creek or the majestic ocean standing at the edge where the waves are breaking, crashing. And so there's, the trees are also majestic. The crunch of the leaves under my feet is really soothing and feels so earthy and nurturing. The depths of the ocean as I contemplate it feels so comforting that there's something so much bigger than me. The ripple of waves in any sort of natural body of water can be, all of these things can be really powerful agents of calm energy and calming energy. Paradoxically, they can also be agents of turmoil and destruction. The ocean can surge and spill into a tsunami, a tidal wave. The forest can dry up and fuel a wildfire. The objects themselves that we perceive are not innately anything. They're not innately calming. They're not innately threatening. They just are. And so we do with that what we do with that. And human beings are not that different from trees or water when it comes to being at the mercy of a fragile ecosystem. We are not innately anything in terms of the potential we have to either cause destruction or to build ease and peace. It's what we choose, how we behave, that then determines what force we bring to the world. We are, as human beings, elements of nature. We live and we breathe, but our relative tranquility is always at risk of getting turned topsy-turvy when things get out of balance. And that's when we react, either for the good or for the not so good. Again, as the only element in nature that has the gift of consciousness, some might call it a burden of consciousness, but I choose to see it as a gift of consciousness, of metacognition. We have this unique opportunity to choose our responses to the inevitable topsies and turvies of life. Buddhism teaches that there is actually a causal sequence of 3 mental dynamics that throw us off balance and create what is termed afflicted states or causes of suffering. So a sequence of 3 occurrences that all happen up here. Right? First one is the latent tendency that we all have toward a particular state of suffering. As human beings, that's how we arrive here. Latent tendencies for pain, for sadness, for fear, for worry, all the things, regret, desire. So it's in there. The fuel is there, the potential, the ingredients are there for these what are called afflicted mental states. So that's the first thing in the causal sequence of 3. Second thing is we encounter an object that's going to trigger those latent tendencies. And that object can be a circumstance, an event, a person, a pattern of circumstances, or a pattern of other people's behaviors. It's not hard to identify our own triggers. And it can be objects that have meaning to us for one reason or another that can be painful or difficult. If we are prone to addictive behavior, it can be the thing that we crave and seek to dull the pain, to numb us from it. It can also be just memories or predictions of these events or people or objects. It doesn't have to be actually in front of us to be the trigger. And then the third in the causal sequence, and this is really the crux of it, is that we have what's termed improper mental engagement with that trigger, with that object. That improper mental engagement then ignites that latent tendency for whatever afflicted mental state is going to rise up. And so improper mental engagement is to see this person coming at us or to see their number light up on the phone, and then we start to tell a story about what's going to happen, what will transpire with this person based on all the history that we and they and together have accumulated. We can predict how somebody will behave, or we impute some motive onto them about their behavior that we often think has to do with us and rarely does have to do with us. So we all have the latent tendency for these difficult feelings. There's triggers for them. We encounter the trigger, and then we start to have ideas about what's going to happen. But we can right this ship. We can interrupt the sequence. The sequence happens in a flash. It doesn't unfold over long periods of time. It's It's simultaneous, split second, we're there. But this is good news, because if it can happen in a flash, it can be interrupted in a flash. It can be overwritten, both in a flash. All we have to do is come back to that touchstone, to remember, to take a breath, to say, whoa, I don't really know anything about what's going to happen. I don't really know anything about what's in this person's head. I don't know anything about much, except for I know right now that I have the power, the tools, the ability to right this state of mind, to restore equilibrium. So for our last bit of practice together, you might, if it feels safe and useful, think of the last thing that triggered your afflicted mental state. Probably don't have to go back very far, maybe an hour, a day if you're lucky. A couple minutes. And then notice, you can work backwards. You can work the stages backward. Notice the improper mental engagement. And improper doesn't mean that you predicted wrong, because often we predict right. A problematic person, a hater's going to hate. Problematics are going to problem. That's not the improper part. The improper part is that we decide, that we give that weight, that we give that power. That's the improper piece. And then work that backwards to, okay, that was a trigger. And then back from there, what did it trigger? What latent tendency? And then from there, find the space around that latent tendency, because there are other latent tendencies. One's for patience, self-compassion, grace, ease, wisdom, inquiry, curiosity. And these are the spaces that open us up to balance, have the potential to bring us back to ease. And sit there for some time. It's only hard when we don't have experience with it. We think the other stuff is easy, but that's only because it's habit. It's easy to get angry. It's easy to get sad. It's easy to be fearful because we know it too well. But we can know these other skillful states just as well. And if all or any of it feels overwhelming, the breath is the safest place to come back to, the most reliably present touchstone we have. Bring a few more mindful breaths to the forefront of your mind, your awareness. Relish in these last few moments of intentionality. And if you feel like you have experienced some measure of equilibrium, some sense of tranquility, of balanced state of ease, then put a mental pin in that. Note the sensation, remember this place so you can come back. And if you'd like to join me with palms together in front of your heart and your head softly bowed toward your hands, offering a wish that all beings may find ease from their suffering and be able to identify and meet the causes of their suffering with patience and compassion, kindness and love. May all beings know peace and the causes of peace. May all beings be free. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take good care.